Good morning to another video of mine. Today I will be covering chapter number 10, chapter number 11 and 12. So we'll start off with chapter number 10, which is the chapter on prokaryotes. So what are prokaryotes? Prokaryotes are the unicellular organisms which existed initially, and afterwards, due to the process of evolution, they transformed into eukaryotes, which are also known as multicellular organisms. So if you have a look at the learning objectives over here, firstly, they tell us to look at the cellular structures of bacteria. You should be able to know that how bacteria produce, they reproduce by the process of binary fission. Now, instead of the nucleus, which contains the genetic material in a human being, in a bacteria, the same function is adopted by the plasmid. Also in a bacteria, if we talk about other structural components, they include the flagella. The flagella allows the bacteria to move easily and it helps in its motility. Now, if we talk about the shapes and sizes, there are basically they exist in a circular form, they exist in a rod shape. For example, if I give you examples, the most common example is strep pneumoniae, which is responsible for majority of the colds and the upper respiratory tract infections. So it exists in a circular form, whereas rods or bacilli, it exists in, for example, Klebsiella in pneumonia is another example of a bacteria which exists in the rod form. Now they vary in size from micrometers to up to large in meters. So they vary greatly in size. So now the great really important thing is to know about the third learning objective, which is the importance of bacteria. Now, why are bacteria important? They are important because they cause many of the infections which are present in human beings. And we need to know the control of these harmful bacteria. Now, you need to know that there are two types of bacteria, good bacteria and and the harmful bacteria. The good bacteria actually enable and help the process of digestion in our human body. And for example, you take the sachets you take Flora, the sachets you take, they have the good bacteria in them and they help in the digestion of gut. Due to the overuse of antibiotics, they often lead to the killing of the good bacteria. Now, you need to know about the harmful bacteria. The harmful bacteria cause a lot of infections. They can include the upper respiratory tract or gastrointestinal tract. So, you just need to know about 2 to 3 examples of each of them. Now, if, coming to the next chapter of reproduction, you need to know the overall general anatomy of the male and female reproductive system. Now, you have to, now you, what you need to know do is that you need to basically join topics and merge topics from each of the other topics because the concepts are interrelated with each other. So you need to know the anatomy of the male reproductive system. For example, the key difference they ask is in the exam is that what is you need to know that only semen is contained in the seminal vesicles. However, urethra, when it is able to excrete both urine as well as sperm. Now, if they talk about the female reproductive system, it consists of ovaries as well as the fallopian tube. Now, a common question is that which is the most common ectopic site of implantation due to IUTs, which are intrauterine devices. So the most common site of ectopic implantation, and ectopic means abnormal implantation, is the oviduct because normally the implantation takes place in the uterus and the fertilization has to take place in the oviduct. So now, if I talk to you about the further topics, they include the menstrual cycle. You should need to know that the female reproductive cycle is variable, but normally we consider it to be about 28 days, and each of the phase can be basically subdivided into 4 phases. Each phase consisting of 7 days. So, for example, in the first 7 days, there is a rise of FSH followed by a rise of LH, which continues till the 14th day. And from day 14th till day 21, progesterone increases. And due to the increase in progesterone, basically the uterus lining increases and there is deposition of myometrium into the uterus. However, if fertilization does not take place by day 21, then the concentration of progesterone starts to decrease and basically, there is degeneration of the uterus and it leads to the menstrual blood loss. So the cycle is repeated every 28 days until and unless fertilization takes place. So what you need to know is that an important question asked in the exam is to tell the day which is most likely on which most likely fertilization will occur. So that is day 14th that you need to know. And apart from that, you need to know about the role of hormones in the menstrual cycle. For example, you should need to know that the LH is the hormone which is responsible for ovulation. And similarly, LH is the hormone which even in men gives rise to testosterone because it stimulates the Leydig cells to produce testosterone. Now, if we come to the common STIs, they include diseases such as syphilis, they include diseases such as HIV, and what you need to know is that they ask you in the exam the most common or the best method to prevent STI. So you should need to know that the best method is contraceptives, which is most prevalent. However, if we talk about the prevalent method, that is vasectomy in males and tubal ligation in females. Now, if I come to the last topic which I will be discussing today, it is chapter number 12. And we come to the learning objective, you should need to know about the difference between cartilage, muscle, and bone. I won't delve into the details of each of the following, but you should also need to know the functions of cartilage and bone. For example, cartilage, just by its name, you should know that it's a property structure and basically it prevents the elastic degeneration which occurs by bones rubbing each over each other. So now you should need to know the differences between smooth muscles, skeletal muscles, and cardiac muscles. Smooth muscles are predominantly in the GIT and they consist of circular and longitudinal muscles. You have heard about the term peristalsis. In it, smooth muscles are involved. Whereas in skeletal muscles, you need to know about the breakdown of skeletal muscles into three filaments: actin, myosin, and troponin. So these are the three important filaments. Apart from that, this comes into the ultrastructure of skeletal muscles as well. Now you should need to know the process of contraction of skeletal muscle, all about the I band, A band, and Z band. Now, if we come to the most important topics, these are the two types of joints and the process of gout. So the two types of joints are the elbow joint and ball and the shoulder joint. The shoulder joint is known as the ball and socket joint because it allows movement in 360 degrees. You can rotate your arm in 360 degree. However, if we talk about the hinge joint, they refer to the elbow joint because the elbow joint can only be moved up to 180 degrees. Now, if I talk about gout, what is gout? Gout is basically the deposition of uric acid crystals in the soft tissues of the body and predominantly the big toe. So what happens is that when the uric acid level in the body increases beyond 7.2 milligrams per deciliter, the uric acid crystals start to form. Normally, uric acid is basically excreted out of the urine. However, either due to overproduction or due to renal failure, this isn't able to do so. So now what happens is the pain which basically arises isn't because of the uric acid crystals, but it is because of the inflammatory response which the body has against these uric acid crystals. The neutrophils and macrophages come to the site and basically they create inflammation over there. So the inflammation releases interferons and other inflammatory markers, which are basically release cytokines. Cytokines are things which basically alarm the central nervous system about the pain effect which is being produced. Now, if we come to arthritis, the main two types of arthritis we will be talking about are rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. The main differences between them are that rheumatoid arthritis is predominant in young people, whereas osteoarthritis is predominant in older people. Rheumatoid arthritis is predominant in the small joints, for example, in the joints of the hand, whereas osteoarthritis is more common in the big joints, such as the big joints of the knee or the hip. In osteoarthritis, as I talked earlier as well, that it is associated with increasing age, so it is common in older people, and overall there is bony degeneration. However, in rheumatoid arthritis is more of an autoimmune condition, and if you have one autoimmune condition, you are more susceptible to catch other autoimmune conditions as well, such as thyroid, Hashimoto thyroiditis, and other conditions. So I think this summarizes chapter 10, 11, and 12. I will be covering chapter 13, the most important chapter in the next video. Thank you.